The truth about Iran in the Bible. Iranians in biblical prophecies. Jesus Christ has power. What if I told you that Iran, a land now seen in the news as a distant beacon, once played a pivotal role in biblical history? Not just a passive setting, but a key figure on the grand stage of prophecy. How could a nation so removed from Hebrew traditions become intertwined with Israel's fate, and with such importance that its legacy still echoes in prophecies of the future? It may seem contradictory, but that's the nature of destiny. It was Persia, a nation with no ties to Israel's gods, that through its great king, Cyrus, restored freedom to the Jewish people. This act fulfilled prophecies written long ago by Jeremiah and Isaiah, as if Cyrus himself had been sent for this predestined mission. But could the vast power of such an empire be directed by divine plans? Or was Cyrus merely a tool in the hands of something greater, unaware of the full significance of his actions? Allow me to guide you through this journey, where the lines between the divine and human blur, and where empires and prophets intertwine their destinies. The truth about Persia, or Iran, as we know it today, is far more deeply connected to Israel's history than many would dare to imagine. And perhaps, the role of this ancient nation is not yet over. Together, we will pass through the gates of the past, visit ancient kings and visionary prophets, and search for what the future may still reveal. Come, if you have the courage, and we will uncover what the days ahead may hold in their tightly clenched hands. Ah, Persia, this nation of barren lands and vast kingdoms, which seems so distant in time, yet draws close like an unexpected old friend. Tell me, dear reader, who would have thought that such an empire, with kings robed in purple and gold, would be spoken of with such prominence in the scriptures? But this is how destiny works, weaving the threads of nations like an artist creating a tapestry whose design we cannot yet fully see. Persia, far from being a mere footnote in sacred texts, occupies a place of honor. It's as if God himself, the meticulous craftsman, chose Cyrus, its king, to free Israel from Babylonian captivity. Imagine the surprise of the Jews, not to be led by one of their own, but by a foreigner with no ties to their faith, returning them to their homeland. Ah, the divine irony is as delicate as the finest Persian silk. And what of Cyrus the Great? He is not only remembered in the chronicles of men, but is also honored in the visions of prophets like Jeremiah, who foretold this story long ago. What if I told you that Cyrus, for the Jewish people, was not just another conqueror but a true liberator? Isaiah had sung his praises even before Cyrus set foot on this land. Is history, as some believe, a grand book already written, where characters simply follow a pre-established script? I leave you with this question to reflect upon, but for now, let's continue our journey. It's impossible not to notice Persia's curious role. It appears at times as a gentle friend, and at other moments as a powerful and mysterious figure unaware of the deeper implications of its actions. Yet, there it is, playing its part, restoring Israel and, as some might say, taking part in the grand game of thrones that unfolds between heaven and earth. Here's the intriguing point. What seemed to be a fleeting intervention, a mere coincidence of fate, is revealed through the prophet's words as part of a larger, divine plan. If I haven't convinced you yet, know that according to Ezekiel, Persia is still destined to play a role in the final acts of this long play we call history. The end times await it as an actor who hasn't yet completed its role. And so we move from Cyrus to other figures who cross our paths in this story. The origins, those distant roots we often overlook, have a curious way of making themselves known when we least expect it. This is how the story of Persia in the Bible unfolds, tracing back to the earliest times, when Noah and his sons repopulate the earth after the flood. It's fascinating to imagine that from this lineage would come an empire as vast as Persia, wrapped in myths and mysteries, destined to play a crucial role in divine prophecies. Japheth, one of Noah's sons, is a nearly silent figure in the Bible, as though he knew his impact would come through his descendants. Indeed, from him arose the peoples who would later form the Persian Empire. Here, destiny began to sketch its outlines, albeit subtly, like an artist drawing the first strokes of a grand masterpiece. These genealogies, often overlooked today, hide stories of great significance. Among the names and connections was planted the seed of a people who, centuries later, would influence the course of Israel's history and perhaps even divine plans. Persia, emerging from what seemed like an unremarkable lineage, would grow into a great power whose strength and grandeur echoed through sacred texts. And so, the story continues. The Persian Empire, with its roots deep in antiquity, rises as a giant often ignored by those who don't study these ancient genealogies closely. Yet, for those who look carefully, there is something poetic and revealing about this path traced from the earliest pages of the Bible to the decisive events that would shape Israel's future. The Bible holds this secret. Persia's origins are intertwined with the world's history from the very beginning. What seemed like a mere list of unimportant names hides the rise of an empire that would not remain a footnote, but would become a protagonist in crucial moments. In the quiet lines of these genealogies, Persia's destiny was already being outlined. Cyrus the Great, a name that, for many, recalls only a distant conqueror, a figure lost in the sands of time. Yet, history deceives when viewed superficially. In the pages of the Bible, Cyrus occupies a place that even the boldest of his time couldn't have imagined. It was he, with the power of his vast Persian Empire, who liberated the people of Israel from Babylonian captivity, a feat foretold in the Scriptures. It's astonishing how precisely the prophets Jeremiah and Isaiah foretold events. Isn't it curious that the destiny of a nation so distant could be shaped by a monarch who, to many, seemed to have little connection to the Jewish people? Yet, here lies the irony that captivates us. Was Cyrus, in all his greatness, aware that he was fulfilling designs far beyond his understanding? Imagine Cyrus' surprise, finding himself described in ancient scriptures, the conqueror of kingdoms, the warrior, now elevated to the status of God's chosen one. Did Cyrus fully grasp the significance of his role? Perhaps he preferred to overlook it, focusing instead on the tangible matters of his reign. However, one cannot ignore the fact that Cyrus' actions were foretold long before he even set foot in the region. The fall of Babylon under his command was a beacon of hope for the Jewish people. Picture the Israelites, exiled for so long, burdened by the weight of a captivity that seemed endless. Suddenly, the doors to their freedom swung open. And who was responsible for this liberation? A Persian king, whose political pragmatism aligned perfectly with divine purposes. This is the ultimate irony. Cyrus, unaware of Jeremiah's visions or Isaiah's words, became the tool chosen by God to restore Israel. But was Cyrus merely a pawn in this grand game? History, with its skillful way of twisting narratives, shows us that Cyrus acted not only with intelligence but also with a rare sense of pragmatism. By allowing the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple, he pacified a people who would likely cause fewer problems under freedom than under oppression. Still, the Bible invites us to see beyond the earthly actions. Jeremiah and Isaiah had already written this song. Cyrus the Great, unknowingly, was a divine agent, a key figure in the plan that would lead to Israel's redemption. Now, imagine the Persian court, a setting of unmatched splendor, where opulence mingled with the subtlest of intrigues, and where destiny played its cards with masterful hands. It was in this luxurious and dangerous environment that we find Esther, a young Jewish woman thrust into the complexities of palace life, as if suddenly finding herself in a game she never chose but was forced to win. Orphaned and in exile, Esther could never have imagined that she would one day become queen of one of the most powerful empires in history. Yet there she was, not by mere chance, but as a central piece in a divine plan that history had set in motion. Ahasuerus, or Xerxes as the Hebrews called him, ruled over this extravagant court, surrounded by advisors who plotted in the shadows. Among them was Haman, the mortal enemy of the Jews, whose devious plan was to annihilate an entire people. What a dilemma Esther faced. She was in the most precarious position imaginable, a Jewish queen married to a Persian king, knowing that if her true identity were abruptly revealed, her life could be at risk. The fate of her people, of her own blood, rested on her delicate shoulders, and the risk was immeasurable. But what is life if not a series of calculated risks, where even the smallest move can change the course of a nation? Esther's cleverness was more than equal to the challenge. She skillfully navigated the trust the king had placed in her, leveraging the beauty and grace that had earned her his favor, all while planning her next move with precision. 1240. Elevaceo aposiceo de reina era apenas a superficie de uma inteligencia sutil capaz de manobrar as engrenagens políticas de corte tracoero e sim com corrigem e estratégia Esther chamu o rei e amapara banquete criando o cenário perfeito para desmascarar o plano que amiacava su povo imaginamatenceo naquele momento a reina aparentemente fragile e vulnerável confronta Raman o conselheiro poderoso desvendando ao rei traco que o inimigo planeju com palavras cuidadosamente. Escalhidas e uma calma que disfarcava o turbilhão interior. Esther, in a moment of bravery, revealed her true identity and exposed the wicked plot against her people. King Xerxes, caught off guard, faced a difficult choice between his beloved queen and his most trusted advisor, Haman. Ultimately, the scales tipped in Esther's favor, and Haman was hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai, Esther's uncle. What a twist! History, with its familiar irony, once again shows how events often take unexpected turns. Then there is Daniel, the prophet, a man whose visions extended beyond the present, inspiring both awe and fear. Daniel was not concerned with the minor events of daily life, but focused on the grand sweep of history, the rise and fall of mighty empires and proud kings. Naturally, Persia did not escape his prophetic gaze, playing its role in the unfolding drama. In his famous vision of the statue, described in the 2nd chapter of the book of Daniel, Persia is represented as the chest and arms of silver, a strong and solid empire, yet not invincible. This is the fate of great empires. No matter how secure their foundations seem, they are always vulnerable to being surpassed, destined to fall just as they reach the pinnacle of their power. And who would be responsible for the fall of Persia? None other than a young Macedonian named Alexander, whose swift and devastating conquests swept through the region. Here lies yet another irony. The Persia that had once liberated Israel under Cyrus was now sealed to meet its end by another foreign conqueror. Daniel, with his calm and almost detached manner, shows us that human empires follow a predictable cycle of rise and fall, and even the grand Persian Empire could not escape this fate. In another of Daniel's visions, Persia is symbolized as a ram with 2 horns, representing the powerful alliance between the Medes and the Persians. Yet, as in his earlier vision, the ram is defeated by a wild goat, symbolizing Alexander's swift and unstoppable power that vanquishes Persia in a single blow. Daniel's prophetic visions offer a fascinating view of the world, not as a static landscape, but as a series of inevitable events. Persia, so glorious in its time, was always destined to be overcome, as if the very course of history were a relentless force beyond anyone's control. The rise and fall of empires, it seems, follow a hidden rhythm, one that only Daniel, with his unique ability to see beyond time, could truly understand. The Magi from the East, those mysterious figures who appear at the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew, carry with them an ancient mystery. Who were these wise men, guided by a star, crossing deserts and foreign lands to pay homage to a newborn child in Bethlehem? Their journey was not merely a physical crossing of geographical borders, but a symbolic recognition of something far deeper. It was a sign of how ancient wisdom, forged in distant lands, could recognize what the powerful in Israel could not. Christian tradition leads us to believe that these magi, bearing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, came from Persia. Indeed, there is a profound resonance in this connection. Persia, with its ancient religion of Zoroastrianism, was a land where astrology and the observation of the heavens were regarded as sacred sciences. These magi, in their pursuit of truth, were not just following a star. They were following the ancient traditions of wisdom passed down through generations, a wisdom that ultimately led them to recognize the birth of a king in a humble manger, a truth hidden from many but revealed to those who sought the divine in the cosmos. The journey of these wise men from Persia, then, is not just part of the Christmas story. It is a testament to the deep, mysterious ties between the ancient world and the unfolding story of redemption. The Magi, upon gazing at the heavens and observing a singular star, understood something that the kings and priests of Israel overlooked. The Messiah had been born. Here, irony strikes once again. Profound wisdom did not emerge from the learned scholars of the law or the powerful figures in the temple, but from foreigners, men who likely never read a single line of the Torah. Persia, or at least its echoes, appears in the New Testament almost subtly, yet with an unexpected touch of significance. It is fascinating to consider that these men, who came from an empire that had already experienced both glory and decline, journeyed vast distances to pay homage to a newborn Savior. They did not come empty-handed. They brought valuable gifts, but more importantly, they carried the reverence of ancient wisdom. This wisdom recognized in the birth of that child something far greater than what was immediately visible to others. Some say these Magi were descendants of Zoroastrian priests, heirs to a mystical tradition dating back to the days of Cyrus. While we may never know for sure, it's undeniable that Persia, with all its ancient splendor, possessed knowledge of both the heavens and the earth. Perhaps it was this wisdom that led them to understand the true meaning behind the star that guided them to Bethlehem. But Persia's connection to the New Testament doesn't end with the journey of the Magi. As we reach the conclusion of this long journey through the pages of history and prophecy, we realize that the end feels more like an invitation to ponder what is yet to come. Iran, or as it was known in biblical times, glorious Persia, has proven to be a central figure in key moments of Israel's destiny. Who would have thought that a nation so distant, with such different traditions, would be so deeply intertwined with the divine plan? From Cyrus the Great, to the wise men who honored the Savior, to the apocalyptic visions of Ezekiel and Daniel, Persia has appeared alternately as a redeemer and an adversary. Its role, it seems, is far from over. In fact, the signs suggesting that Persia will play a part in the final events of the end times only reinforce its importance. So, what can we do but watch the unfolding prophecies, with all their veils and metaphors, that awaken in us a mix of fear and hope? Perhaps the events shaping the future are already happening before our eyes, in ways too subtle for most to notice. Or perhaps we are just a few steps away from witnessing something grand and profound. The story of Persia, woven throughout the Bible, serves as a constant reminder that no matter how mighty an empire may seem, it is always subject to the divine plan. If there is one lesson these prophecies teach, it is that the fate of men and nations was decided long ago. The question remains, will Persia, now known as Iran, fulfill its final role as a protagonist or an antagonist in the grand events yet to unfold? And so, I leave you with a final thought. Persia, once so distant yet so present in the scriptures, may be closer to our time than we dare imagine. The future holds secrets that may soon be revealed. Until then, we continue to gaze at the horizon, caught between anticipation and unease, wondering what might come next.